travelers, are you sitting on a mountain of those precious primogems, or are you meticulously planning out your next big pulls? Because let me tell you, this roadmap for versions 5.7 all the way through 6.0 is going to be absolutely essential for your gacha strategy. We're not just going to talk about who's showing up on banners, we're diving deep into the why, how past patterns can actually help us predict the future, and what kind of strategic thinking you'll need to prep for what's shaping up to be one of the biggest updates ever, 6.0. Who else is trying to pull for their favorite character but the primogems just aren't enough? Don't worry, I've got a way to save money and get double the Genesis crystals. This is lootbar.gg. It works just like the in-game top-up system, but with up to 25% off, and new users even get a 10% extra discount. See this? The regular $100 pack only costs $81 on Lootbar, and each update they release an exclusive $72 bundle available for your first purchase every version. All you need is your UID. No password, no login. Just pick your bundle, select your server, and your crystals get delivered in about 5 minutes. Lootbar has awesome reviews. It's fast, secure, and trusted by tons of players. If you're planning to recharge for Genshin or Star Rail, don't waste your money. Click the link in the description or pinned comment and top up now with Lootbar. Safe, fast, and way more affordable. And don't miss that 10% off while it lasts. So let's kick things off with 5.7, which is actually looking like one of the most balanced patches we've seen in a long time. We've got brand new characters, some highly anticipated reruns, and a few fan favorites finally making their grand entrance. Leading the charge here is Skirk. Yeah, you heard that right. The same Skirk we've been teased with for what feels like an eternity. She's a 5-star cryo sword user, and she brings a super unique mechanic called Serpent's Subtlety, which is basically what fuels her enhanced normal attacks and elemental burst. The way her cryo damage scales over time and creates these amazing synergies with off-field hydro or freeze teams makes her a seriously promising DPS option. Then we've got Dalia, a 4-star hydro sword user hailing from Mondstadt. His playstyle is a bit different. His skill actually scales with max HP and gives an attack speed boost to your allies, which is pretty neat. Emily's rerun in 5.7 isn't much of a surprise either. She's a 5-star Dendro polearm user from Fontaine who first popped up in version 4.8. Her kit is all about optimizing the burning reaction. Her elemental skill sets up a Lumideus case that deals AoE Dendro damage and gets a huge power boost when enemies are burning. So if you happened to skip her back in 4.8, now might be an excellent time to reconsider, especially if you're into elemental mastery scaling and off-field dendro application. Now, hold on to your hats, because the second half of 5.7 is absolutely stacked. MAVUIKA is finally getting her first rerun, and it just so happens to line up perfectly with Skirk's release. Coincidence? Maybe, but it's pretty fitting. Skirk is a brand new cryo DPS, and MAVUIKA is, well, the Pyro Archon herself. Her elemental skill has 2 modes. A quick tap triggers coordinated pyro attacks with your team, while holding it down gives her pyro-infused normal attacks. Both options use her unique resource, so choosing the right one really depends on your team's needs. Her elemental burst doesn't even rely on energy. Instead, it uses a special meter she builds during combat. When activated, she literally jumps onto her motorcycle and enters a powered-up state where her attacks get stronger the more of that meter she had. And yes, she actually fights while riding a bike, which immediately sets her apart from everyone else. Shenhe is also making a comeback, and her timing couldn't be more perfect. If you're even considering pulling for Skirk, Shenhe is practically a dream support, boosting cryo damage and shredding cryo resistance like no one else. So, yeah, the second half of 5.7 isn't just strong, it's incredibly well-rounded. Whether you're aiming for MAVUIKA or leaning into the Skirk and Shenhe synergy, there's a ton of value here. Now let's talk about 5.8, because this is where things get really interesting. There were some early whispers about a new 5-star Hydro character showing up here, but according to the updated info, that doesn't seem to be happening anymore. So what we're most likely looking at is 4 reruns. Let's dive into that rerun lineup for 5.8, because this patch is shaping up to be all about reappearing favorites rather than new faces. One of the clearest patterns we've seen in Genshin is how characters released early in a region, usually from X.0 to X.4, tend to get their reruns later in that same region's cycle, typically around XY to X-Wait. And in Natlan's case, three characters really stand out: Citlali, Chaska, and Mualani. Citlali dropped in 5.3. Chaska came right before her in 5.2. And Mualani kicked things off all the way back in 5.0. None of them have had reruns yet. Based on past patterns, at least two of them are highly likely candidates for 5.8. It's tough to imagine HoYoverse stacking three Natlan reruns in one patch, so realistically it'll come down to two of them. Out of the three, Citlali feels the most secure. Her rerun seems all but guaranteed, not just because she's the most recent, but because she's by far the strongest and most popular of the group. Her kit brings reliable off-field cryo application, a strong elemental mastery scaling shield, and resistance reduction for both pyro and hydro, all of which make her an incredibly flexible support in freeze, vaporize, and even burgeon setups. That leaves Chaska and Mualani fighting for the second slot. Chaska's timing fits better, and she lines up neatly with how reruns are usually spaced. But Mualani, despite releasing earlier, still hasn't had a single rerun, and that makes her hard to ignore. She's overdue, and a lot of players have been patiently waiting for another shot at her. So which one makes it in? Chaska or Mualani? Honestly, it's hard to say. My gut tells me Chaska, just based on pacing and release order, but I wouldn't be surprised if HoYoverse throws us a curveball. Either way, two of these three are almost definitely showing up in 5.8. There's also one more rerun we haven't talked about yet, and that's Wanderer. If you look at the current banner rotation logic and the character waiting list, a lot of Sumeru characters are at the top, which could hint at a Sumeru Chronicled Wish in the near future. But Wanderer probably won't be included there. He's a bit of an outlier, and his limited inclusion in region-focused banners might be why he's getting a rerun in 5.8 instead. Now here's the part where HoYoverse might pull a classic move. 5.8 is the last patch before the next region drops. You know what that means, right? They're going to try and make us spend our Primo Gems right before 6.0 hits. It's happened before, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again. So, don't be shocked if we see someone like Neuvillette, Arlecchino, or even an Archon make an appearance here. The whole point is to bait players into pulling just before a massive update, and honestly it works. Speaking of massive updates, let's get into 6.0. This is the one everyone's been waiting for. A new region, a new story arc, and very likely new mechanics, exploration systems, and maybe even combat shifts. But even before we set foot in the new land, there's something that always happens at the start of a region: an Archon rerun. It's a trend. We had Zhongli in 4.0, Raiden Shogun in 5.0, so it only makes sense that 6.0 will continue that pattern. The big question is which Archon? If the next region, Nodcry, connects to Mondstadt, then it's probably going to be Venti. And that wouldn't just be a random rerun, it would fit narratively too. Venti guiding the traveler toward a new destination, acting as a bridge between the old and the new. It makes perfect sense. And if Venti is involved, then so is VARKA. He's been name-dropped so many times and has been hyped as Mondstadt's strongest. Seeing him finally debut in 6.0 alongside Venti could be a huge moment for the story. Now, we don't have concrete info on other new characters yet, but if we follow past update cycles, the full 6.0 beta should start leaking in about a month or two. And once that happens, we'll start getting massive info dumps on new characters, weapons, mechanics, and story elements. So, now is absolutely the time to start watching closely. Personally, I'm holding my Primo Gems tight after 5.7. Skirk looks tempting, but if 6.0 brings VARKA and a whole new region to explore, that's where I want to be ready. So how about you? Are you pulling in 5.7, skipping 5.8 completely, or going all in for 6.0? Let me know what your plans are down in the comments below. And hey, if you found this roadmap helpful or want to stay updated when the real 6.0 leaks drop, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.